and Jasay City and around the world. Welcome to another episode of Chicago's ILLectuals podcast. It's just me and Flizz today. We kind of chopping it up. Got a few things we need to discuss. Flizz had me on the hot seat earlier in the week, man. Had me on the hot seat. What's up, Flizz?
Oh, man, it's all good. What's up, world? Young Flizz reporting live from the West Side.
Live and direct on the West Side.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. You'd be happy to know that I just left the forum.
Oh, really?
Yes. I just left the forum. I took my shoes off and, walked through the grass and just let the grass, permeate the bottom of my feet. Get that energy.
Yeah. Why don't you tell the world, about the forum, because they're hearing you, have your feet on the grass and everything. We just want to provide some clarity for the world, man. Talk about it.
Well, I spoke about it on an episode that's coming. Basically, what the forum is it's a spiritual space on 53rd and King Drive in the middle of the park, and this space was designated to our elders and some of our ancestors as they started to come to Chicago during the Great Migration, as they migrated from the South. And this was their information hub. So, they usually meet on Sundays at about 2:00. And man, there's probably about a good 20 elders out there today, man.
That's beautiful, man.
Like I'm talking some guys over 80.
That's beautiful.
And I'm sitting there amazed at their ability to recall information from around the world, right?
Yeah.
Scientific information, cultural information, history, and they're just dropping knowledge, man. And I just sat there and kind of took the cotton out of my ears and put it in my mouth.
Yeah.
And sit on the emergency room.
Hey.
I need the info, man. And that's really important though, because Flizz, you always say you can always tell the nature of an area, a city, state, community, by the way that their youth and their elders,
that's right,
taken care of.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that Washington Park Forum, man, is and I've been going there since I was probably like 6 years old. Well, not purposely my whole life, right? Because at first I just there was a bunch of crazy people in a circle and yelling at one another. Right? Yeah. Little did I know, like, this was our information hub, and it's like spiritual ground, man. So
yeah,
I want to spend some time over there. I was actually requested, but I want to spend some time. Dr. Zoe was over there. Dr. Zoe Franklin was over
there. Shout out to Queen Zoe, and all of the, as I hear you talk about that, they would be considered some of the OG first cohort Chicago ILLectuals.
Oh, I know, no question about
it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. And I also was thinking about, interestingly enough, when I went to Phoenix earlier in the year, there's a place outside of Phoenix called Sedonia. And Sedonia is known for these combinations of energies that come from the earth, and some say, if you're in that space, it has this complementary effect, like to your body, healing, you'll feel better, and all of these, wonderful things. So when I heard you talk about taking off your shoes, right, and really getting connected with the earth of that special space, I think that's just something we need to get more in tune with, man. Because I don't know if the world know, but man, we haven't been treating Mother Earth as well as we should. We have a lot of things going on. We have pollution, we have, air quality. I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about, remember, it may have been a decade or maybe 2 decades ago, what's called fracking. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You know how to get more oil and more minerals, how you're going deeper into the earth, and in many cases you extracting things without replenishing or having this complementary relationship with the earth, man. So, I know some of y'all might be like, man, what is this dude talking about, man? But I'm talking about our earth, man. My man, he does gardening, the kid, he got some special things, man, in the back of his, world. So, we just got to take better care of our planet, y'all.
No, that's real though, because it's funny you should say that, because that was one of their topics at the forum today. Is
really
use that's being done to Mother Earth, right?
Yes.
And I know, just for the sake of the people that kicks it with us and look at our podcast and everything, man, I just want to kind of put it in layman's terms. I know, like, for my garden, for instance, right?
Yeah.
There are simple things to think about, such as when the expressways were built, right? Mm-hmm. And they broke ground, and you release these gases, you destroy the nutrients in the ground, right? Mm-hmm. And that stuff starts to become toxic.
Yeah.
Not to mention that some of the places that we live here in Chicago, some of it is built on like old graveyards, and there have been all type of incidents that's happened long before we were born, and some of that stuff still exists in the soil. So that's why I have a raised bed garden, right? That's why I go ahead and I mix my soil. I get the compost, the manure, and I mix the soil, and just put like a sheet of cardboard at the bottom, and put the soil on top of that so that the grass won't grow up.
Yeah.
In the garden, right? And and I basically use what I know to be just a little bit more pure, because some of the soil that you purchase can probably be contaminated as well, but not as much as where they have broke ground for expressways and built houses, and and mix all of those chemicals in the soil, right? And
right.
It's kind of defeating the purpose if you're just going to go straight into the ground and you have no knowledge of what's in the soil, in the ground, even though it can be tested, but you can't get everything. So I just choose to mix my soil. But they were talking about that today, man.
Hey, man,
yeah.
I just want to give a quick shout out, man. Hey, ladies, it sounds like, the kid is thorough. He's thorough with nurturing and cultivating, man. So I just want to put that shout out, man.
You're talking vegetables, though, right? You're talking vegetables.
Yeah, I'm plugging the fact. Let me tell you what I'm talking about, brother. I'm plugging the fact. I'm lifting you up because I feel that the skill of being able to sustainability. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was redirecting it to the ladies, because you're a bachelor, man, and everything, man. And these are things that I think people will want to know. You know what I mean? As far as
you get stuck up out here talking about I'm a bachelor. I ain't got no protection.
Hey, put some S. We're gonna run some S over there right now. We sending some S over there right now. They're on 79th. They'll be there in 1 second, bro.
This guy's rough.
But nah, man, I've always been fascinated, because while I'm not a gardener, I'm more of a landscaper, but that's neither here nor there. I've always been impressed with my grandmother and my auntie's ability to use the soil, as a source of food, man, I remember from the dirt, collard greens, man, and they taste so fresh, and it's with love and all of that, man.
You had them from my house, from the garden to the pot.
Hey, man,
Did you eat some?
Yeah, I did. I did, man. They was real good, man. They was good. I'm waiting for my next rip. We ready for it, man. So now that's dope. So they were talking about that today. Okay, that's interesting.
So let me ask you a question, bro. How important do you think it is to have mentors? Like, across the lifespan. We're talking human behavior and the social environment, right? And having like human capital to give you direction on situations that you may have no knowledge of. How important do you think that
is? I mean, I I don't even think it's of extreme importance. I put it right, at the top of the social order, so to speak, right? When I think of, just having someone to guide to, we all know world, and we're speaking as African American men, living in America, it's not an easy space to navigate, right? So to the extent that you can connect with people who, may be able to guide or, give you feedback, you can have dialogue, you could test some things off of, man. And let me just also even broaden it a little bit more. Mentors, they create, a mentor-mentee relationship creates accountability. It creates trust, man, I come from, in Chicago, man, growing up, man, there was not a lot of accountability in I would say healthy forms, I think violence was a tool of accountability that was used, I think a little bit in a dysfunctional way.
But
But
like
mentors,
a pumpkin head.
yeah, man, like violations, man. Let's just say what it is, though. You get violated and things like that, man. I mean, hey, I wouldn't know nothing about it, man. I was a good kid, Mad City, like Kendrick, you dig. But to the point, man, through the life course, though, it's very important, right? So, it's very important that as you go through different phases of your growth and development, that there's someone who can also, kind of like observe, provide support, right, along that way. So in my professional setting, I'm working in philanthropy, being a program officer, I'm responsible for like creating like positive youth development, mentorship, thinking about out of school time, how we're using the park districts, all of which, are wonderful spaces for the mentor-mentee interaction to happen. But, it could just be over the phone, man. It could be check-ins. It could be in really unorthodox ways. You get to choose, the mentor and mentee can kind of choose, how it works. I have a mentor that we talk once a month. When we talk, we keep it to about an hour. We check in, we have a prayer, we open with a prayer, we close with a prayer, you know what I mean? And this person has been, kind of like through my life on and off, I say, man, 15 plus years. So, he's been able to really hold me accountable. We create shared practices and values and things of that nature. So, man, I could go on and on about the benefits of mentors. And I'll tell you, it's funny, we're going back to the Washington Park Forum because that's a hotbed of mentors, right? Of elders. I'm a firm believer that the oldest of our generation holds the most wisdom, right? And they're able to track things throughout time. So when we talk about how are we documenting history, orally or written, a lot of times it's held in the hands of our elders, right? So I love to sit down with my mom, and just talk about, hey, what was it like, growing up in the civil rights movement? What was it like, being on a cotton plantation, like, as a sharecropper, right? What was that like? You know what I mean? So, mentor-mentee relationships, peer-to-peer mentors, they work. Intergenerational mentoring, like, having someone much older, being able to connect with somebody much younger, they work. I think, it's whatever works for you, so shout out to all of the mentors out there. Shout out to the mentees. That's what I think about it.
There was a reason that I asked that question, because as you well know, I've had like 3 mentors for probably over 20 years. Right?
Okay.
And, I've used Bodie, Armel, and Zoe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just on a very basic level, Armel explains to me that he says, listen, man, you know how he is, right? He's like, listen, man, you know, if anything goes wrong, Bodie and I have been doing this for so long. He's talking in terms of property ownership, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing this for so long that we have our black books. And in these black books, we have a group of plumbers, electricians, uh, guys who maybe does roofing or
Yeah.
any situation that you might come across, you know, concerning your home and maintenance of your home, right?
Yeah.
He said, and we've had these guys in these books for over 20 years, and they're reputable guys. We vetted them over the process of time, right?
Right.
And I had some of those issues come up, and I immediately called either Bodie or Armel, and they're gonna give me no less than 3 numbers to call. They're gonna give me no if it's an electrician or if it's a plumber. My hot water tank just went out recently, and I
Yeah.
was here's a great example of what a mentor does. So I'm talking to Bodie, and I'm like, hey man, my hot water heater went out. He's like, listen, if it's hot water, it doesn't need to be heated. It's a hot water tank. So they'll correct your language, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of like situations and appliances and certain circumstances and approaches that you need to take, they'll correct you. And
Yeah.
I just happen to appreciate that. But this is something that's going to require an adult to exhibit a level of humility that many of us don't necessarily appear to be comfortable.
You know, let me ask you something. As you said that, can mentors and mentees go to the strip club get together?
Yeah, of course. You have.
Okay.
I mean,
Can
there's no blanket theory. I mean, I think you
okay.
explained it well. There's no blanket theory. I mean, if
Okay.
that's the nature of their relationship,
Yeah.
and that's something that you know they think they want to do for entertainment, have at it. As far
Okay.
as
Got it. That you know, and I, you know, I wasn't really trying to be funny with it, man. But because what I was really trying to say is like there doesn't have to be like this morality framework. Like you all design y'all relationship however you know you want to benefit both of y'all, right? Yeah. So if going to the strip club, cool. If you know going on a block, you know
that's what y'all do. Y'all go to the strip club.
Know, I have went to the strip club before.
Your mentor?
With I was the mentor.
This guy's hilarious.
I was the mentor, y'all. You know, and it was and you know what? It really worked out. You know what I'm saying? It was good. We were able to meet on common ground. We were able to have some chicken wings. You know, we were able to listen to some music, and we were able to, you know, help each other through, you know.
You didn't mention anything about looking at the young ladies.
Were you
able to look at the young ladies?
Well, she was the mentee. You know, no, I tripping there. Like, hey, yo, I got jokes. I got jokes.
Wow, man.
I got jokes today, man.
But that's
man.
That's great. You know, man, you call me. I was in my garage, man, getting out of my car, and you call me, and you're super hyper and excited. And you're talking about, I have one. Black Thought and Fontaine.
Hey, I mean, I still to this day don't quite understand your response, because sometimes, man, we feel that we have these moments of clarity, or like, you know, everybody talking about this and that. And I really thought about it, right? Because I also thought it was interesting, because since we're talking about Black Thought and Fonte, they both come from like a group, a collective, you know, and everything, right? So I just, you know, like I said, there's a decision. I don't know what it is, and that even speaks to my like. I don't know how that's gonna shape out. They're both excellent lyricists, man. They have what I call avant-garde type of rap, man. Like, you know, it's world, it's fashion, it's everything, man. It's a lot, right? And I don't know, man. But how did you feel about it, man? Because what I heard about that conversation was like, man, I felt like you was about to hang up the phone. Like I told you some bad news or some shit. I don't know.
I felt like you were trying to trigger me. That's what I felt like. I felt like you were trying
What's
to trigger
triggering?
me. So the fact that you know how much I love both these guys, and that's one of those situations I'd rather not touch. I'd rather not touch that one, right?
Which makes it a great versus, am I right? Potentially, right? Could make it a great, because don't nobody want to touch it. I don't know what to do. Man, this is crazy. Who's gonna do what? All of that, right?
Yeah, I have a much better one.
Oh,
I have a much
let's
better
hear.
one.
Let's hear.
We're going to take Fonte out, okay? And we're going to go. And I don't want this to be a versus. I want it to be a straight up battle. Lyric for lyric, hit for hit, show for show. Okay? I'm talking Black Thought versus Eminem. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
Now,
let's do that one. Because everybody's afraid of Eminem, and it's well known that Black Thought is the MC's MC, and nobody want to see him, right? So let's do that one. And to that, you say what?
I just kind of triggering, man. Shit. I could say so. I'll say this. I think that would be very, very interesting. I think that the pedigree level is there with both of them. If we're talking about consistency, man, they're more. They have more touch points than I initially saw, because I'm thinking about Eminem and the Outsiders, Black Thought, when it was the full Roots crew, you know, and it's a lot, bro. Detroit, Philadelphia, there's a lot of
dynamics there.
It's a lot at play, man. All I can say is, you know, I would like to see that, right? I would like, because I think both of them, because I remember, if I'm not mistaken, and don't misquote me, when we went to Little Brother concert, or it was something, I think I heard, maybe it was a podcast. Was it something where Fonte was battle rapping like at one point in time? And I don't want to get it wrong, man. I'll just say this, man. I think Eminem brings an interesting dynamic, because Eminem can kind of bring different cultures and everything together as well. I believe Black Thought can as well. Yeah, I don't even know, man. I'm not gonna I stuck my little toe into that water, man. I'm taking it out, man. I don't want no parts. I don't want no parts right now, bro.
Yeah,
I have to study that a little.
It's not very often. It's not very often that I witness you measuring your words. You're very careful before you talk. Typically, that's me, because you know I mess around and say some shit. So I have to measure myself, man. I have to really think before I talk, man, because words are effective, right? But
I don't know.
I'm saying Black Thought comes out on top, right? And we know that Eminem, he sold like 16 million records, you know, so he has a very broad fan base, right? But the Roots, their longevity And then, you know, Black Thought did some stuff with Al Michaels. He's done some stuff with this DJ man that he always has at the Roots Picnic, and I can't think of his name right now. But he's done some things, some solo projects with many people, man. And but I think he's probably right up there amongst the hardest working acts in hip hop in terms of the touring and all of the shows that they've done over the past 2 decades. What do you think?
That's a very unique perspective. I like how. So what I will say is this: when I think of the whole Roots crew, you know, Black Thought,
Malik B.
That's to me, I like my man Malik B. I like that kid, right? And I think about the fact that the Roots crew has a couple rappers. You know, I'll say this: when I think of Eminem, I do think of like this run of time, right? This span, that lasted, maybe 7 to 8 years, right? Of what he was like pretty much he's one of the dominant MCs in the game.
Ain't no question about it.
He had Dre, pretty much with the beats, as well as D12, I believe Kanan, he has a lot of beats coming from a lot of places. But then
he became a thorough producer in his own right.
Exactly. And then the Roots, I think just the consistency of
we're talking 2 decades, man.
Well,
we're talking 2 decades of touring.
Of
touring. And basically what, their first 5 albums were classics?
Yeah, well over 2 decades of like high quality bar spitting, right?
No
as well as like the Funk Master Flexes and the stuff like that. And also I remember the cypher that both of them were in together. See, I remember that as well.
This is why I like you. This is why I like you, because you remember some very poignant moments in time when it comes to these things, because those 2 occasions right there were like highlights that I was probably going to bring up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think, man, Black Thought is he's like a weapon that can like form itself in like
under any circumstance,
right? Yeah, right. And Eminem is like, this awesome like boss spitter, and with content. I will say this: like Eminem at one time, like I think he was doing like things that were really strong at bringing like white people to poor white people, poor Black people, and that's real special, right? Yeah. So they both, man, just got like hella.
Well, we haven't seen nobody like Eminem now. We haven't seen nobody like him, and to your point, some of the things that he would talk about, white society tend not to touch on, at least to a broad base, right? They tend not to touch on, but he came right out and talked about mental health and alcoholism and family systems and all type of abuses and just navigating, his situation, and I think that's what made him special, especially in 8 Mile, where he was able to use his flaws and liabilities and talk about himself when he knew that was the weapon of his opponent, right? So you basically disarmed your opponent. But I don't think that's gonna work with Black Thought.
That's a fact. But I have one that really world, y'all, the kid don't know I'm finna share this, but it actually happened in the world. I happened to be, man, on YouTube seeing a podcast, and apparently there's an issue between, I think they're 2 of my favorites too, but I think these are 2 of your favorite rappers. Talib Kweli and Consequence. apparently, you know, have some beef. And the nature of it, and if I recall it correctly, it was, you know, in the world of social media, man, sometimes these tweets and messages they get pretty shady. But apparently, there had been some beef between them two, you know, in the past, right? That I think got kind of resurrected as Talib Kweli on his show. Black Thought was the guest. I think I told you they were at the Roots. They were at the Roots picnic.
Oh yeah, yeah. You told me about that.
So one of the things that was said was something to the effect of I think Biggie was disappointed at Black Thought and the Roots when they did the video What They Do, according to Talib. You know what they do. You know, when they talking about flossing, this, that, and the other, this and that. Big, I guess, maybe took it like as like a shot on him, like he's coming at the bad boy. And don't quote me, but this is kind of what I heard. So anyway, Consequence, man, kind of inserts himself like, that ain't what it was. Who are you to say this, that, and that?
They know how Quince is.
And you know,
Quince is like a hybrid of Kanye.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because the rebuttal from Talib was, you mad because I said some things about your boss, your boy.
Kanye.
Talking about Kanye, the Hitler stuff, right? And then it went back and forth, man. But there's a point where Talib says, Queens ride with me, including a Tribe Called Quest. Okay? And that's when Cons kind of goes a little bonkers. And he pulls up a video that Talib said was real old, but it shows Q-Tip opening the present, you know, Consequence guy. So it was just a mess, man. But I kind of don't like to see when our guys like that go at each other. But I do realize that, man, misunderstandings and perceptions and people saying stuff about people, man, that's just kind of the way of the world now, man. You know, people,
so where do the lines get blurred in the sense of when we're wrong and we're saying that my city, my borough, my hood rise with me, right? Where do the lines get blurred, or is it the situation? Because I can be honest, I'm guilty, right? I'm guilty. If one of my friends were wrong growing up, like if they were wrong in the public, you're still not gonna be able to like hold them accountable. I'm gonna talk to them. We're gonna talk to them when we get back to home base, but you can't check them, right? So is that still the norm, or is it a situation to where the lines kind of get blurred? Because these guys are in entertainment, which is kind of different. Right.
Well, I feel like this, right? Rap is competitive. I feel like, let's just look at the context of these two individuals, right? We know rap is a competitive sport anyway. It was born out of that. And, you know, it was like New York is ground zero, right? Mm-hmm. So you really literally have Queens, you know, on one corner, Brooklyn, you know, in the other corner. And this is not new, right? Like,
what about Bronx? What about Manhattan?
This is what I'm saying. Right? I'm speaking of Talib and Cons, but how can I have that conversation without putting in? You know, I told you, bro. You remember this? I may have said this in one of our earlier podcasts. I think I did on our earlier episodes. How amazed I was that KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions at one time and point they put the whole borough of Queens to sleep.
KRS-One did it by himself.
He put the whole.
He did it by, and they acknowledged that.
You know, and they acknowledged that, right? So we know how how strong and but to your point, I think it's always gonna be like, you know, it goes maybe back to our culture, like our African traditions, right? Of tribalism and like, hey man, I'm from this set, you know, I'm from Mason and Fulton, you know, Capitol
I'm
Hill.
riding good,
This how
bad,
we
or
get
indifferent.
down. I'm riding with them. I'm affiliates. I'm whatever, right? But I'm with my peoples, right? And then you know, I think that can turn into something bigger sometimes, right? That we've seen end up in death, right?
Yeah.
Then sometimes it can end up in, you know, just like, hey man, we're gonna talk it out. Let's all piece it up together and let's put out some music. Let's become creative over this.
That's interesting though, man, because so what's really interesting, and it reminds me of Chicago, like South Side, West Side, we have our similarities, we have our differences, right? We have a compare and contrast, right? We have some evidence that we have differences and we have evidence that we have similarities. But when we're out of town, it's Chicago, right?
Absolutely.
Which reminds me of like the Drink Champs interview that you were asking me about, right?
Which one is that, brother?
Yeah, okay. You don't remember the one you asked me?
It's a lot of Drink
The
Champs.
last one that you asked me about, man, the G Unit member.
Yayo.
Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
So,
yeah,
like Yayo is Queens all day, right?
Yes.
He's Queens all day. But I feel like when it comes to the West Coast, Yayo is New York all day.
Yes.
And here's why I say that. I thoroughly enjoyed Yayo's, and that was a long ass interview, like 5 hours.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed Yayo's interview. Yayo absolutely reminds me of some of the guys from like the low end, some guys that I grew up with, right? He's super huge on loyalty.
Yeah.
Almost to a fault, right? And he's just a real down to earth, very sensible, pragmatic type of guy, right? And you know, he ain't no chump. But at the same time, man, for you to sit there and say like that Biggie was head and shoulders better than Ice Cube, right? First of all, too small of a sample size. But secondly, you know, Ice Cube is an icon who he was one of the first guys to blend East West. And when he blended it, he did it in such a fashion that he ended up with one of the best groups of all time, you know, doing his production when he left NWA and went solo, right? When he went and hooked up with PE. You know all about that. But I kind of feel like in a nutshell, man, I enjoy Yayo's interview, but I think that Yayo was heavily biased. And number one, I believe that Yayo was heavily biased, right, in favor of New York. Number two, I don't believe that anybody, and with Yayo being like a hip hop enthusiast, I don't believe that anybody that knows hip hop would have made that statement. So that led me to believe that Yayo couldn't have listened to Cube's catalog. And I can reduce, you don't even have to listen to his whole catalog. You can just listen to America's Most Wanted, right? You can listen to Kill at Will, and you can listen to, what was the second album? Cube's second album.
America's Most Wanted?
Huh?
America's Most?
No, that was first.
Death Certificate?
Death Certificate, right? You can listen to those 3 efforts right there, and that's some of the most iconic storyteller in hip-hop history, okay? So I just felt like it was a mixture of Yayo being heavily biased in favor of New York. I felt like Yayo made that statement without listening to like those 3 albums, Death Certificate, Kill at Will, and America's Most, right? And you can basically just listen to one. I would challenge anybody who questions what I'm saying to just go and listen to Ice Cube's record called The Product off of the album, what was an EP called Kill at Will. Just listen to that. That'll tell you everything you need to know. But and lastly, man, I think that the alcohol also had an effect on on his response. So I think there could have been a mixture of all of those things. I think there could have been a mixture of all of those things. But above all, I thought it was a great interview. I like Yayo, man, as an artist and as a thoroughbred, you know. But on that one right there, nah, man, you was off on that one, Yayo. And to that, you say what, my brother?
Man, I ain't finna belabor the point. I feel like, so one, just to establish the context, the question was, who was the better storyteller, Ice Cube or Notorious B.I.? So, you know, both great storytellers, right? But I also like the interesting notion that, you know, when we think about storytelling, you know, we in the case of Ice Cube, we can broaden the scope and medium because he also was a great storyteller in the films he did. So we know Friday, classic, you know what I'm saying, told, to me, one of the ultimate hood stories. You know, things that definitely happened in my hood. I'm sure these things happen in your hood and all the hoods around America. But man, yeah, I just think, and I think like New York, so I would wonder sometimes, right? Like, man, what if Chicago was like the Mecca, right, of hip hop, right?
Will we be like that?
I'm sure we would have this type of bias, right? Because it started here, pretty much all the music, like everything was there, New York,
and
right?
You motherfuckers need to pay homage no matter how good you are.
And that's a fact.
You motherfuckers need to pay homage.
No, that's been in my opinion. I think they have they kind of lost their reign on hip hop because of that very reason, right? Maybe so think about what I'm saying is that New York has always had this embarrassment of riches when it came to hip hop, right? You know, they artists, most of the visuals we seen growing up, right?
And the history, man.
The history, right? The history, right? But I also think that gave an opening to other regions. I'm going to the South, right? To kind of like, you know, because the South was being looked at in a certain way, like y'all country, y'all kind of scattered, not sophisticated. This, I've heard all kind of shit. People talking about the South, but I'm gonna tell you something about the South, man. You know, when Dre 3 Stacks, man, at the BET Awards said, man, the South got something to say. It was one of the purest moments in hip hop to me.
Historical moment.
You know, that's a historical moment, man. So, you know, I think New York's just been kind of like always like number one, the top seed, kind of like blue chip, like Duke, man. Like every year, man, you getting all these draft picks. The spotlight is on you. You're getting the best time slots. You're getting the best, you know what I'm saying, televised games, man. You know, but
you're the first to do it in a large way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. But make no mistake about it, man. You know, we're from other regions, but many of my favorite MCs are from New York.
Likewise.
Being one.
Likewise.
Ain't no question about it. Now, had Big lived, there's no telling. It might be a better argument had Big lived, right? Because he was that caliber of MC.
Oh, right? We know that.
Yeah. But, you know, unfortunately, he didn't live long enough. The sample size is way too small. But, you know, Q was the first one to really illuminate Strawberry, the neighborhood home. Well, I mean, the whole nation didn't necessarily know what a strawberry was, you know, and things of that nature, man.
He let the suburb in, man. Once upon a time in the projects, man. You know, check us out. You know, but yeah, I think those are all great points, man. And similarly to you, I mean, my top MCs are from New York. New York is heavily shaped the way I look at hip hop music, you know, rap. As well as the West Coast. And
I mean, but of course now, I tried to make sure that I was objective, but this was really easy. right? Because Cube has such a large sample size, and the movies in terms of storytelling. Once Upon a Time in the Projects, Who's the Mac, you know, A Good Day. All of these things were stories, bro. And the product, that's one of the stories that he told that was just so fascinating, brilliant, and immaculate, but overlooked, right? Because it wasn't commercialized. It's overlooked, but that was probably one of his best stories of all time. Yeah, man. You know, his sample size is just a lot larger.
Now, I would say if the question may have been visuals or impact on stories, you know, because I remember when Big said, man, on Ready to Die on Everyday Struggle, when he says the crack smoke makes my brain feel so strange. I remember when he spoke about On Niggas Bleed, Today's Agenda, okay?
Yes.
The whole flick
I make
was
your
like
mouth so beast like
picturesque.
Belarus.
Man, you know, like
oh boy, man.
Man, Joe, the man's the coldest. He one of the wittiest, you know, sharpest lyricists, man. Yep.
Yeah, but you know, some of my favorite MCs out of New York, man, would be like a Nas, Big, Cormega, of course, MOP, you know, KRS, AZ,
Yes.
you know, people like that, man, are like my favorite MCs. I like Styles, Chic, and Kiss as individual MCs as well as a collective.
I like Hove, man. I love
Oh yeah,
Hove.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
love,
I mean,
I
that's
love, I
almost a
love,
given. Like, yeah,
I love older
yeah,
Hove. I love older Hove. You
yeah.
know that dad rap,
The
man. That
reasonable doubt hold.
man. Yeah, I like some of the older stuff, man.
And
You know,
let
but
me ask you this, man, before we get out of here, man. Top 5 greatest MCs out of Chicago, plus an honorable mention. Your top 5 greatest MCs out of Chicago, plus an honorable mention.
man. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right, man. So we're gonna load this clip slow, man. But in no particular order.
No particular order. You got an honorable mention as well.
In no particular order. I'm gonna go with Lupe Fiasco. I'm going to go with Twista. I'm going to go with Common. I'm going to go with Kanye, Mr. West. What's that, 4? I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna leave my last 2 slots for the youngest. I'm going to go with Dirk. And an honorable mention, young man from the West Side. I'm going with Saba. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Shout out to anybody I missed. We couldn't do groups, so LEP, Crucial Conflict, like, you know, so do or die, right? So I just went at it. How about you, brother? Who you riding with?
Man, I like Chance the Rapper.
Okay.
Lupe, Common, Twista, and I really like Sawa. And I guess I can't leave Kanye off the list. But at the same time, man, I really feel bad to not bring Vic Mensa's name into it.
I love Vic.
You know, to not bring Vic Mensa's name into it.
Vic.
You know, yeah, man. So That's it, man. I just want
And
to chop it up.
Herbo, man. Shout out to Herbo too, man.
Oh yeah,
That
G Herbo.
PTSD,
I
the
like
PTSD, man.
I like Bibby too. I like Bibby too.
Uh,
I like Bibby too.
Bibby made me proud, man. You
I
know,
like Joey Perk.
Joey Perk.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Perk.
Yep.
What's up, man? Yes, all them guys, man. You know, we love y'all, and we very proud of what y'all able to do, putting Chicago on y'all back, man. You know, and pushing this hip hop.
Especially like probably about 95% of the names that we spoke of came from poverty. So anytime you're able to create your own lane, man, and feed your family, that's always a plus.
Yes, sir. That's a fact.
All right, man. Well, you know, that's all I got for today, bro. What else you got?
Man.
This guy's
I ain't got. I'm a pause it, Joe. You know, this was a good episode. You know, world. I hope y'all, man. Thank y'all for riding with us. Chicago's ILLectuals podcast. You know, come to our website, Chicago ILLectuals podcast.
Subscribe.
You know, like, share, subscribe. We're on all streaming social media platforms. You know, check us out YouTube. You know, check us out on Instagram. Check us out on the Facebook.
And we're family friendly.
And we're very family friendly. You know, we got some really exciting people coming up, man. Oh, yeah. So, you know, world, you know, keep rocking with us, you know, and remember, man, we internationally known and locally accepted, man.
It's from the West Side. Peace.
Later.
Let's do it.